This is $100. What you want to do is you want to rip the 100 in half.
Welcome to Finance Unfiltered, where we break down money myths, educate you on different financial aspects. Our goal is to help you to understand money so that you can do better. So I'm Nadine.
And I'm the doc.
And we are here to really get you jump started into your 2026. So today, we're going to be talking all about those things that many people have on their list for this year, their New Year's resolutions, and where do you even start financially when it comes to those things? So we're going to jump right into one of those most important assets, right, Doc?
Yep, absolutely.
All right. So we're going to get started today with one of the things that we think can clearly set you up as a foundational principle for 2026. And that's the principle of paying yourself first.
Yes.
Right? So
yes.
what do you think about this topic today?
I mean, to me, I think that's probably might be the most important thing when it comes to your money. We work so hard for our money. Some people working 2, 3 jobs, right, to be able to accumulate money or pay bills, right? The thing is, if you don't save some money for yourself, but you let you pay everybody else, and you keep doing it for a long period of time, what's going to happen to you? And who's more important, you and your family, or your debts and your bills? So you have to put yourself first. Just like when you get on the flight and they give you instructions, it tells you when something happens to this flight, what do? Put your mask on first before you can help what? Anybody else. It's the same concept. When it comes to your money, you have to pay yourself first before you pay everybody else. So when you get paid, there's a certain portion of your money that has to go to yourself and your family and for your future, and something goes to your what? Your bills and responsibilities. Oftentimes, people have a reverse. When they get paid, they pay everybody else. And when it comes to them, there's nothing left.
We're not the only people that say this. The challenge is most of us were not taught this way.
Yeah.
I know I wasn't taught this way. Yeah. I was taught to pay all of my bills first. And then after you pay your bills, then you can save. Yeah. Now, most people that I run into were taught the exact same way. They were taught to pay all of their bills and then save. And then you pay all of your bills and then you save. But the challenge is, how much money do most people have at the end of paying all of their bills? You have little to no savings. And if you do that for 20, 30, 40 years, guess what? At the end of that time, you aren't going to have any money saved. And then we try to figure out, oh my gosh, what did I do wrong?
See, it's not the big decisions that affect us, right? It's those small decisions that we make over a long period of time that impacts our future. So when it comes to your money, you have to at all costs put yourself first. You might ask, well, I have all these bills. Guess what? When you put yourself first, it forces you to have to sit down and figure out where your money is going. And you figure out what to cut, what's a priority, what's a want versus what's a need. A lot of times when we look at our sheet or our budget sheet, it's a lot of needs and it's a lot of wants. Sometimes it's more wants than needs, right? So to figure out how to pay yourself first, you have to start making some difficult decisions, which is going to help you. And you have to make those decisions now as opposed to later, right? You might say, you know what, I'm going to save more money. I'm going to save more money when I make more money. There's no guarantee that you can make more money. So you have to figure out what to do with what you have now. That's why the Bible says, if you are faithful to a few, I shall make a rule of many. If you cannot manage $10, there's no way you can manage $100.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Just because most of us weren't taught that way. And in reality, who's more important? Who's more important? Is it Amazon, Target, your streaming accounts,
Netflix.
or is it you?
Yeah.
You are the most important person. So why not put yourself at the front of the line? And this isn't just a concept that we employ. This is a concept that people who earn millions and billions employ. So let's take a look at what Shaq says about paying yourself first.
What advice would you give to young people about the need to accumulate money earlier? Is there anything that you did wrong in the early years that you would advise people to avoid?
I did a lot of things wrong. May I have a piece of paper? Blank sheet of paper. Can I rip it?
Go ahead.
All right. Children, young guys coming to a lot of money. This is $100. What you want to do is you want to rip the 100 in half. 50. Save it. Don't even touch it. Invest, put it away, don't even look at it. Now you got 50 left. Now the smart people, the real smart people, the billionaires of the world, they'll take half of that 50, put all that away. This right here, have fun. You want to buy houses, you want to buy cars, you want to buy planes, you want to travel. This right here is what you have fun with. This right here is what you need for when you retire. So you invest, you put it away, you save it, you don't touch it. This is the house money. This is what you play with.
That's so interesting because, again, this is a guy who he'll tell you if you do any research on Shaq, what he shares is he learned about money by going broke. He went broke first. And then after he went broke, he said, you know what, this can't be the way to do it. I have to learn how to become an owner. I have to learn how to pay myself first. And this is the exact opposite of how most of us learn.
Yeah, I mean that's true though, right? At the end of the day, yes, a lot of people, or the vast majority of people who are very wealthy, right? At some point in their lifetime, they made the money, they went broke, figure out what they did wrong, and then was able to earn it back. You see, the thing is, they had the right money mindset, but some decisions that set them back. So although they went back to being broke, they still had the mindset. So our mindset drives our behavior, right? And
Mhm.
sometimes we don't make decisions early on. We delay, thinking that we have time to even correct those issues. But you don't have to wait until you go broke to make smart money decisions. You have to learn from those who have come before you and made those mistakes, so you don't have to make the same mistake that they made. If I have a mentor that's made all the mistakes and is advising me, I'm going to listen very closely, because there's a way I can take from his or her story to be able to make sure that I avoid making the same mistakes that they made. Because sometimes some of the mistakes are very hard to recover from, especially when you repeat it for a long period of time. You're not in your later years of life where your body's weak, you're not able to work as much. It's hard to recover from bad money choices, right? So for me, I always say it's not how much money you make, right? It's how much you get to keep and what you do with what you keep. You can make 5K per month. You can make 2K per month. You can make 10K per month. It all depends on what you do with that money. You can still retire and do very well, even if you make 2K per month. It's all about your decisions, right? Are you living like, oh, I have all this money? Or are you living that, oh, I only live once in a lifetime, a way of living, right? The decisions that we make impacts everything that we experience when it comes to our money and in life in general.
That's true. Now, for many people, they may feel like they don't earn enough to save. But when you put yourself at the front of the line, and if you do it early enough,
Yeah.
what you'll find is that to achieve the point of financial independence,
Yeah.
you may only need to save 10% of your income.
Correct.
10% of your income. Let's think about that. If a person brings home $1,500 every 2 weeks, that means you put up $150 on the front end.
Correct.
Now, the big question becomes, where do you put it?
Yes.
Right? Do I put it in my bank account? What do I do with it? And what we teach people is that you need 3 basic accounts fundamentally in order to be able to really achieve the goals you have for yourself. So you would take that $150 just as a starting point if you had $1,500, and you choose 3 basic accounts. Now, your first account is going to be your emergency fund. Emergency funds usually are going to be the bulk of your $150 until you get to the point where you build up minimally $2,000 minimally. Ideally, 3 to 6 months of your living expenses. So, Doc, can you talk a little bit about building that emergency fund, what that would be used for, and the importance of that?
The reason why emergency funds are so absolutely vital is because as we are going through and matriculating through life, nobody knows when an emergency is going to happen, but we know it's going to happen at some point. The key is, when it does happen, am I prepared for it? The reason we say 36 months is this: God forbid you lose your job. Sometimes it may take you some time to find an ideal job, right? So if you don't have an emergency, if you don't have one, what do you think is going to happen to your family? You could lose your house because of mortgage. You could lose your car because you can't make your payments, right? So when you have an emergency account, it gives you some breathing room, right? It helps to protect your peace of mind. Say, look, if I was to lose my job or emergency happens, my family and I, we're going to be okay because why? We have a nest egg that can help us to really sustain for 3 to 6 months. I have clients that actually do 3 to 6 months of their income, which is even going above and beyond what you need, but they want more security and more safety. But what you really need is just 3 to 6 months of your monthly expenses. So that if an emergency does happen, you know you have a 3 to 6 month cushion to have a peace of mind for you and your family while you're trying to figure out how to resolve that particular emergency. If you don't have an emergency fund, guess what most people rely to or rely on? Credit cards.
They go into debt.
Credit card, guess what? Which push you back into what? More debt. See what I'm saying? So all these things work hand in hand. When you have an emergency fund, it gives you time to be able to figure out how to get better when it comes to your money or how to resolve the emergency. So guess what? The emergency fund is so vital. And I think everybody should have it. If you don't have it, you start little by little by little until you're able to achieve that goal. But at least to me, minimum $1,000 to $2,000 sitting in an account that you will not touch until an absolute emergency.
And what I share with people is that you want to, ideally, after $2,000, you don't want to have that in the account that's attached to your bank.
Yeah.
People use that as an overflow account, if we're being
Correct.
honest. You're going to tap into that account. When
Yeah.
things get a little tight, let me go ahead and transfer some money over.
Correct.
And so people use that as an extended of their checking accounts, or extended checking account. So you want to put it in a high yield savings, a money market account,
Correct.
somewhere that gives your money the potential to actually earn interest
Correct.
and add more money to that account for your emergency fund. And your
Correct.
emergency fund does something that most people don't think about, but it takes you from survival mode. Most people live usually in the beginning of their lives in survival mode, where they're just trying to figure things out. But the goal is not to stay there. The goal is to ultimately get to the point where you can live in what we call a success mode, where you're able to pay your bills. You're not living from paycheck to paycheck. You have that emergency fund and that buffer so that when an emergency happens, you're not running frantic. You're not stressed out. You're not trying to figure out how to make ends meet. You have it for that. And then you can start building on your second type of account that we recommend, which is your short-term account. I've heard people talk about, using this money and combining it together. Now, you can ultimately use the same account, maybe a different fund, in order to achieve this goal. But your emergency account is going to be for things that you foresee yourself doing in the next 3 to 6 months. And I'm sorry, 3 to 6 years. I apologize, not 3 to 6 months. Well, it could be things like buying a new car. Planning for a wedding. Right. Maybe there's a major vacation or trip that you want to go on, that you want to make sure you have money for, buying a house, right? But these are for buying a new car. I mean, because the goal really is not to always have a car payment. We would like to have a nice car, but not a nice car payment. But imagine putting your car payment up for 3 years instead of paying the bank your $500 a month. Pay yourself your $500 a month, and then in 3 years, go buy your car outright cash, so that you don't have to have a car payment, right? These are things that you use your short-term account for.
We have a tendency and a habit to commingle everything, right? You don't want to commingle because you get yourself into a lot of trouble, right? Each account is designated for something very specific, and it needs to be that way, right? So when you finish your short-term account, right, you now go on to what your long-term account. This your retirement account, your investment account. This kind of like your wealth build or your legacy planning account, right? That's like a 10+ year account. Hey, look, in the next 10 years, I plan to retire. Next 10, 15, 20, 30, 40 years, I plan to retire, right? This account is absolutely vital because at some point in life, all of us plan to stop working. The goal of life is not to work until you die. It's to work, accumulate some money, let the money grow. So at some point, the money's working for you, so you don't have to keep working. And this is what this account does. So when you have this account, later on, when you retire, the interest on that account alone can sustain your living expenses or your living until you pass away. And whatever's remaining from that account can then be what? a legacy plan passed on to your kids, your grandkids, and so forth. But it all starts with making sure that you're able to contribute or pay yourself first. I always say this: any money that comes to your pocket, there's a part of it that's a seed for tomorrow, right? And there's a part of it that's for your daily and everyday need. That when the money comes, do not eat your seed because there's nothing to grow for the future. And when the money comes, do not save everything because you still have needs for today, right? So just figuring out how to properly separate everything so that what you have a proper structure and plan on how to properly manage your money and let your money last a lifetime.
That is extremely powerful. I once read that if you don't save your money, then one day your money can't save you.
That's right.
And in reality, we're all going to need our money to save us at some point, because there's going to come a time where you're either going to want to stop working.
Yes.
Or sometimes it's not a choice. You have to stop working. I mean, do we know people whose health has unfortunately failed them, or they were injured and unable to work? So at some point, you're going to need your money to save you. So and the thing is, if you're young, you can start out with 10%.
Correct.
But the longer you delay, the longer you put it off, the more you're going to need to allocate to paying yourself first just to achieve your goals. If you're in your 20s, maybe your early 30s, it might be 10%. But then after that, it might turn out to be 15%. If you're waiting until you're in your 40s, it might be 20% that you need to pay yourself first just to reach those goals. So if you have $200 and you're trying to figure out what to do with it, the way we teach you to allocate it is called 50, 25, 25. So until you build up an adequate emergency fund, 50% of your money should be allocated to building that emergency fund. You're going to, put $100 of your money into that allocation. And then your other $50 and $50 will go to your short-term account if you have that need. And then your wealth building or legacy account. And as you build that emergency fund, you can start to reallocate the money. As it gets to the point where it's built, you can start to reallocate it so that you're putting more money into those other types of accounts.
I'm a realist, right? And I know what we're describing is not the easiest thing to do, right? But you have to start somewhere, right? You can say, how can I save 50% of my money? Of course, we know it is hard, right? But if you want a peace of mind later on in life, you need to make the hard decisions now. We all are going to pay a price at some point in life. You either pay the price now or you pay later. But none of us escape without paying. Early on, I made those sacrifices so that later on I can have more peace of mind, right? Even if you didn't start early, but at least you can start now. Everything we're describing, right? There's a mindset that you need to have or to build. I didn't start out like this. Somebody taught me, right? So I'm not here trying to be above. No, I'm just sharing with you what has helped me that somebody shared with me, right? At some point in your life, you're going to be able to get to a place where you're able to move things around to be able to make things more smoother for you. But you have to start, even if it's a little bit. Start. The issue that I see a lot is that the cultural impact also hinder us, because sometimes we're trying to fit in, or we're trying to look a certain way or appear a certain way. You see, I don't want to appear rich. I would rather be rich than to look rich. That's the difference, right? And it's a mentality. If you know you have the money internally, you don't care to look like or impress nobody, right? Don't forget, don't try to impress people while going broke, because them people ain't even worried about you. They got their own problem. Make sure that you put yourself first. That means health, physical, spiritual, whatever it is. Make sure you are centered. Then everything else will flow after that. Don't let the culture or the environment trip you up, because it will, and we see it all the time.
Absolutely. You got the bag, but no money in the bag, right? It is very serious. And back in the day, they used to say that you were keeping up with the Joneses, right? But the problem is the Joneses are broke too. So you're going broke, trying to impress people that are also having their own financial challenges. The key you starting this whole getting wealthy, is you have to pay yourself first. It starts with you. Now, if you're spiritual, I believe you're supposed to pay God first, and then you pay yourself first, and that last 80% is what you're going to use to live off of. So you got your 10, and then you got your 80. Now, again, that may be 15% that you need to pay yourself, or 20, depending on where you're starting. But you have to start somewhere. And it may be small at first. You pay yourself $100 a pay. But imagine how good it's going to feel.
Yes.
When you have that emergency, that car emergency, or that home emergency, or that family emergency, and you're able to take that money from your account instead of pulling out a credit card or panicking in order to handle that emergency. Paying yourself first is going to be one of the most vital steps if you want to get your 2026 off to a fantastic start. We recommend that you start there.
It all starts with that word that everybody hates, is a budget. That's where it all starts, because that budget is going to tell you what's coming in and what's going out and where it's going. If you do not tell your money where to go, it will dictate where it goes. And that's where we end up getting into trouble.
Even if you find yourself in a space where you're like, man, maybe I'm overspending, I'm not making enough. In reality, you still have to put yourself first. You're going to have to figure out how to, because those bills aren't going to stop.
Correct.
The gas and electric are still going to want their money.
Correct.
The kids are still going to need stuff. But if you don't put yourself in a position where when things come up, you're able to take care of it, you're going to find yourself going deeper and deeper
and deeper. Correct.
Right.
Yep.
So in reality, there are things you can do to make more money.
That's
you can, there's no shortage of side hustles.
Yep.
You got your Uber and your Lyfts and your Amazon Flex and your DoorDash and Instacart and you Shopify, you name it, it's out there. So if money is your issue, hustle, grind for a period of time. Find a way to make the money, but pay yourself first. Okay. Pay yourself first if you don't hear anything else. So if you like to connect with us, feel free to connect with us. We're going to give you a free budget worksheet just for connecting with us. So scan that QR code, follow the link, connect with us. And as always, thank you for chiming in. The goal here at Finance Unfiltered, we are financial planners and consultants, advisors, and we're not your financial planner, consultant, or advisor. But we're here to provide you with information that you can use in order to better your financial future, create a legacy, and reach the goals that you have set for yourself. If you'd like to connect with us one-on-one, you can always reach out to us to do that. But the goal is to help you make better money decisions. And as always, we're going to give it to you uncut. This is not the place where you want to get the fluff and we're going to tell you like it is because we want to see you do better.
That's right.
So feel free to like, subscribe, share with a friend. You can tune in on Fridays at noon Eastern time for more episodes if you like what you hear. But thank you for tuning in with us today. Again, I'm the Dean.
And I'm the Doc.
And we'll see you next time.
Deuces.